And what a journey it has been, my friends. 100 hours later, the credits finally roll on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Wow, what a game. What a game, what an ending. There's just so much to talk about. But I think with this stuff, I always try to just give my initial just feeling. It's more like emotion based. And this game was fantastic. It was really, really good. It's the best experience I've had playing Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy X. I said it might be for 16, but this one for me it definitely clears 16 in terms of the experience I felt and just everything together. It was just such a great game. I'm almost stunned at how good it is. Like it's gone beyond my expectations for just how much they've done for this game, and that's kind of the overriding feeling. It's just so much more than I thought it would be. And I always champion the fact that this game would probably be better than Remake, but really, like, it made Remake look better than it was, if that makes sense. Like, I'm thinking back to, like, the 87 that Remake holds. This game is, like, it's such a different league in terms of, like, everything that they've put into this one, that if this is, like, I think it's back up to a 93 now on Meta. It's either a 92 or 93, even that. It clears it, like, obviously it's, 5 or 6 points at that end of the scale is big, is significant, but it's like Remake feels more like an 84 now, and this feels more like a 93, 94. Like, there is an easy, like, 1 point difference out of 10 for me, easily. Just unbelievable. This cast, I love this cast so much, and the fact that this game focused so heavily on the cast, obviously, the relationships between them, the way that they characterize them, they built on what they established in the first game, and just their interactions, the way that they found, the way that their bond grew, the moments of humor, the goofiness, the levity, like, even the whole when Kate Sith was trying to hold up the Temple of the Ancients thing, and he said, like, I wish I didn't skip leg day. I just, like, stuff like that is just so brilliant. And this game, in that sense, is just, I just loved going on this journey, and it's just, I think it just appeals to who I am as a person. For me, I've always been like, the things I enjoy the most in life is just to spend time with people that I enjoy. And as much as I enjoy doing things on my own, and I am quite an independent person, I think I get the most joy out of life when I share it with other people. And so any story or any game or any experience, any art form in which you have that feeling of going on an adventure with a group of people you really like and that you enjoy spending time with, for me, that's the most parallel to what I enjoy doing in my own life. And as a result, this game did so well with that stuff that it just really resonated with me. And again, it built on those foundations that I already mentioned in the preview video that I made. The battle system I've always loved, and I still believe it's the best modern day take on the Final Fantasy battle system. Some of the tweaks and the adjustments in there, they were really nice. And, the synergy abilities, all of that kind of stuff was really fun to do, especially once you get the hang of using it, and all of that kind of thing. And just, that was already one thing. The remake, just the way that they recreated these characters, and the way that they imagined them from the OG and brought them into this era, I feel like they've hit the nail on the head for pretty much all of them. And I've said it throughout my experience with Remake and Rebirth, where it's like they are how I imagined them, almost perfectly. Not perfect, nothing's perfect, but like the way that they look, the way that they sound, the way that they act, their costume design, whatever it might be, like that side of things, they've always, in my opinion, they've nailed it. Probably because so much of the old guard is still there. Even if the director is, for example, different for this game, there's no way the likes of Nomura and Kitase and those guys are not sufficiently involved enough to let this slip away and not be the vision that they had for these characters and what they conveyed in the original. And so again, obviously, for me, it also goes to show once again how great the original was, that the original creators, the vision that they had for the OG and how these characters should look and should sound if they could have voice acting, how they should behave, their mannerisms, that kind of thing. The way that most of us are kind of in agreement that they've got it right speaks to how well they were portrayed even in the original. And I think that's something really special. So before I continue on, we have an epilogue scene, I guess. No? Okay, this is the continuation. So I will also continue. Yeah, so like it speaks volumes, I think, how strong the original was, that so many of us can play a game like this, where the original developers have shared their vision for how they always wanted these characters to be, I would imagine. And we're all in general agreement that they've nailed it. And so much of this stuff is kind of extrapolated out and projected from base material in the original that just wasn't there, that we didn't have. Like, you know, certain mannerisms and the way that even that they would look, you know, the way that they would behave, that kind of stuff, their mannerisms in speech, maybe their accents, you know, the way that they act in battle, you know, all of these kind of things, the way that they translated all of that, I think has just been so well done, and it complements everything so well that it was another reason why the game was so successful. And of course, the sheer size, expansiveness, the amount of things to do, the sense of adventure, the mini games. The thing that Remake suffered from the most was the fact that it was consigned to just being the Midgar portion of the story. And I always said the game is brilliant, but all of its detriments come from the fact that, well, almost all of its detriments come from the fact that it has to be set fully in Midgar. And most of the criticisms I had with the game were to do with, you could always just answer it with yes, because it could only be set in Midgar. And so I always knew that once they released them out into the main world, a lot of those issues that I had with the first game weren't going to be present in this one, and they're not. And so for that reason as well, like it's just so good. They just did so well with it, and I'm just generally just so impressed. You know, bringing this out less than 4 years after the first, with the sheer size and scale of the world, the amount of mini games they built, the amount of quests that they integrated games into, you know, the amount of different alternatives we had for, like, you know, the affection stuff. I'm sure again we had all the different dates. We had, you know, things like the proto relics that then led to the island that Gilgamesh was on. You know, just the Temple of the Ancients, the sheer scale of that place. So many of the areas, the way that they imagined them and the way that they created them, it just blew my mind. And I cannot believe that they managed to do what they did with this game in less than 4 years. I don't care about how many of the assets were already reused from Remake. That's an excuse you can use for a lot of games. A lot of games can't do that. Basically create 10 times as many areas as the first from scratch. Basically, I mean, Midgard doesn't look pretty much anything like any of the other areas that we visited in this game. They did all of that. They built a lot of mini games that weren't in the first one. You know, the battle system had things added to it. We had a decent chunk of side quests available, but not kind of overwhelming in that sense. It wasn't too many. And I think for the green kind of side quests, I think they found a nice balance between quality and quantity. So the side quests in this game blew the first one out of the water. It improved in many areas. And so if you already had what was a really good game in Remake, expanding the scale, expanding the vision and the ambition, and then improving in many ways, it's like, well, what more do you want, you know? Like, in terms of what they could do here, where they couldn't tell the story right from the beginning, and they couldn't tell the story right at the end. We couldn't visit the areas in the beginning, and we couldn't visit the areas at the end. We are literally doing an act 2 of a story here. I don't think they could have really done it any better than they did. Like, this is about as good as it gets. This is as close to perfection, given what the assignment was, that I think they could have potentially achieved here. Now, from there, it's like, well, what more can I say, you know? I love the characters, I love the journey, I love the adventure, I love the music, I love the funny moments, the goofy moments, the sad, emotional moments really hit for me as well, the Barrett and Dine stuff. I would say, admittedly, I think the Red and Seto thing was really nice, but it wasn't as good as Barrett and Dine, personally. Still really good, but it didn't reach the heights that did. And the way that they obviously handled the finale of the story was also really interesting and emotional too, because to bring it all back to sort of the ending, Aerith is gone. She's died in this basically reality of the game. And that's, you know, as harsh as it might sound, that's basically what I wanted to happen. As much as I love Aerith and her character and her place in the party and all of that kind of stuff, for me, it just had to go that way. And I said at the end of Remake, I always believed that Aerith would die at the end of this, but they've done a mighty fine job of kind of building our bond with Aerith along the way, so that it still hurts when she leaves us, but also basically forging this new kind of version of the story with the sort of different worlds and a different fate, And so what we do know from the OG is that just because Aerith dies, it doesn't mean her role in the story is over. And it's much more, it's very, very subtle, I think, in the OG, that, you know, she joins the live stream, and I guess her will and her memories, or whatever it might be, her life force kind of prevails in the live stream, and she's able to help the party from beyond to be able to stop the destruction of the planet, basically. And I think in this one, they're taking a much more practical approach to that, where it's not just going to be, you know, we continue without her, we basically forget that she's in the story from here on, and then right at the end, we maybe see like a FMV and we see her praying in the live stream. We're like, oh, I guess she helped us. It's going to be more of a, she's going to be doing her thing in a different world, trying her best to do what she can, the same way Zack did in this game. And perhaps her and Zack are going to be reunited in a different world. And while our heroes kind of progress things on in the quote-unquote real world, we're going to have Aerith and Zack probably doing their thing in their world and trying their best to thwart, you know, Sephiroth and basically save the world. So for me, I think it really straddles that line between it's going to go off the rails versus this is basically a retelling of the OG story, but they've expanded certain things and they've given us some extra things to think about, and some extra creative license has been taken in trying to tell the story in a different way to what we had in the OG. Because if you look at where we're at, once again, it's the same situation. We've finished the Temple of the Ancients, we did the Forgotten Capital, Aerith got killed by Sephiroth, she's left us in the story, we're continuing on without her towards the north to meet Sephiroth. Like, this is where we're at in the story, and this is where we're at in the OG too. But obviously, they've added in the whole, you know, we've got the world with the rift in it that Zack's in and Biggs is in. Biggs kind of felt a little bit pointless in this story, I'll admit, and I was kind of a bit surprised that they brought him back for that, whatever that was, considering they just left Jesse and Wedge alone and it was just Biggs. Anyway, that part of the story, the different worlds, the different fates, Aerith basically swapping the materias. There was the clear materia and the white materia. It's almost like she kind of had to travel to the other world, give it to Cloud, and then bring it back to the original world. Like, it wasn't originally in this world, but she had to bring it back from a reality in which that still exists in order to basically save things. So there's obviously a lot of things going on, and obviously some aspects of it are confusing, and they, especially on a first playthrough, without talking to anyone else or getting any further insight, they don't obviously all fully click and make sense. But in terms of where I'm at with how it's going compared to the original, I'm happy. I'm in a good place, and I think that's helping the general positive sentiment towards the game, and why so many people are happy with what they've played for this one. So I think in terms of like the original, so in terms of like the initial feeling of how this is all going, I think I need to wrap this stuff up here. We'll let the credits roll for the rest of it, and then we will see what we're going to get. Obviously, are they going to roll us back to the end of chapter 12, or do we have a completed save file where we can still just access the rest of the world except for Temple of the Ancients? And that we'll see all of that stuff. The playthrough itself is not over. We've still got stuff to do with Chadley. We've got hard mode stuff to fight still. And depending on how far away I am from some trophies, I might do some of that. But Johnny's collectibles alone, I think, make me not want to get a platinum. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to grind minigames for a platinum, basically, because there's so many of them. And you probably have to get the top rank in every single minigame in the game. And I think that's where I draw the line, because I've already spent over 100 hours on it. So I think I'm going to stop talking for now. We'll let the credits roll out. That's my initial feeling on the game. This game is fantastic. I think it deserves the Metacritic score that it got. It's the best game we've had. The best Final Fantasy experience we've had since the golden era of, for me at least, Final Fantasy 6 to 10, with like 12 being a very slight bit below that general set of games for me. And so if we look at 16, which I still think was a really good game, I really enjoyed 16, don't get me wrong, I'm still a fan of 16, but the fact that we've got 16 and then 7 Rebirth being this good back to back, it shows that there's still life in the franchise. We can still continue to have amazing Final Fantasy experiences even this far on, and I'm sure the 16 team, or whoever's going to make 17, they're probably looking at Rebirth, they're looking at those scores. It scored better than 16. The user score so far, based on thousands of reviews on Metacritic, is better than 16. Anecdotally, from people I'm chatting to, they're liking it better than 16. I like it better than 16. again, this doesn't mean that 16 becomes a crap game here. It just means that I think 7 Rebirth did things while having an admitted advantage over 16 being a remake of an absolute classic. But there's things from this game that I'm sure that they've got to be able to take and move forward with, and realize that there's certain elements here that maybe 16 didn't have that people enjoyed more in Rebirth. And so I think this bodes well for the franchise. Just making a fundamentally really good game is always going to be one of the best things that a franchise can do. You make great games, hopefully the rest will come along with it. And this was truly a great game. And for being like the middle of the story, it blew my mind. So yeah, I'm going to leave it with that, and we'll let this ride out until the end, and we'll see what we have from there. So I'll see you guys at the end of the credits. Confluence of Worlds. The adventure continues. Chapter selection, hard difficulty are now available. Access chapter, blah blah. To replay any chapter from the beginning using your current stats, weapons, and material, you can also adjust your quest completion status. For a real challenge, switch a chapter's difficulty to hard. While playing on this setting, items cannot be used. Okay, so it's the same deal. Playlog, accessible via the system section of the main menu. The playlog shows your achievements throughout the story and in battle. Okay. Goal Saucer, Companion Station. When choosing Chapter 8 or 12, you can pick any character with a close enough relationship to Cloud to accompany him in the Gold Saucer. Okay. Meeting certain requirements such as completing all proto-relic salvaging quests will unlock unique combat challenges featuring Sephiroth and Zack. Chocobo Ranch is now changing booths. Okay, fine. Okay. Cool. Let's throw in one of these then. And I think for now, we got to wrap things up and return for the post game. 103 hours. Insane. Okay, my friends, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you all so much for watching through this entire playlist. You have my endless thanks. I really hope you guys have enjoyed watching half as much as I've enjoyed playing, because I've had a really, really good time. And I really do appreciate your time for enjoying this series and continuing to make the Danzo 8 channel a go-to place to watch Final Fantasy playthroughs. So I hope I've done it justice and that you really have enjoyed yourselves. I will see you soon with more, and probably a more like extended review of the game once I finish up all of the stuff that I want to do for the hard mode / extra challenges in VR. So I will see you soon. Thank you for watching. Take care.